everyone, I'm WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg, and this is Wake Up Weather for ABC 7NY and Weather or Not, sponsored by TD Bank. Well, it's all about a brief blast of heat coming up for your Wednesday. We'll call it a one hot wonder. It's just staying around for one day, but this extreme heat and a cold front moving through during the evening hours could spark some isolated strong to severe storms. But our AccuWeather Alert for the day is more about the heat. The storms may not have the greatest coverage, and I'll explain why in just a moment. We're going for a high of 93 degrees on Wednesday. You know, we've had 20 90-degree days so far this season, but it's been a while. The last time we hit 90 degrees was back on August 6th. The average number of 90-degree days is 15, so we're already past that. The average last occurrence over the past 30 years is August 29th. However, if you look back to 2014, we've had 7 times in September we've hit 90 degrees. So I don't think this is the last 90-degree day, but when I look at the next 7 to 10 days, there's nothing near this type of heat. So it could feel like close to 100 degrees across parts of the area, especially south and west of New York City, interior parts of New Jersey. But again, it is only lasting one day. Now, in terms of the storms, number one, we've been watching thunderstorms overnight come out of the Great Lakes and near the I-81 corridor, and we're kind of getting the leftovers as those weaken as they approach the area. So there may be a shower or two around daybreak, or especially the pre-dawn hours to maybe about 8 or 9 in the morning, a spotty shower, thunder shower. It doesn't look like anything strong, but that's essentially the leading edge of some of this higher humidity air and the heat. It's coming in these little boundaries that are rolling through. The real severe risk comes later in the day, but it's kind of a complicated forecast because that threat may actually be more focused on the evening hours, and the later it is, the more that focus would be south of New York City, central, southern New Jersey, even down toward the Delmarva. The extended forecast, there is no doubt we have a major cool down, a 15 to 20 degree temperature drop from Wednesday to Thursday, and that cool weather lasting into Friday, where clouds will dominate, especially Thursday, might even be a shower. Now, the unsettled weather will bleed into parts of the holiday weekend. Saturday will still feature a lot of clouds and a thunder threat in the afternoon, and then things will improve on Sunday and Labor Day. The humidity makes a spike on Wednesday. Dew points will be in the upper 60s for a time, but they may actually dip in the afternoon hours when that prime daytime heating is going and the front is approaching. So will dry air suppress some of the thunder shower development? Then we'll get those dew points back into the 50s on Thursday and Friday. Many of you are cheering for that. Okay, comfort is back. The problem is it comes with cool clouds, a cool northeast breeze. It'll actually be maybe light jacket weather, especially after a sizzling day on Wednesday. The dew points will get back up into the 60s over the weekend out ahead of a front on Saturday. Unfortunately, that's an unsettled day, and then lowering humidity through the day on Sunday and into Labor Day. A snapshot of the feel-like readings during the afternoon hours indicates upper 90s around Central Park, mid-90s, the Island, Connecticut, the Hudson Valley. But how about low 100s in Morristown? Somerville could feel like 104, Toms River 102 to 105, so pretty stifling during the afternoon hours. Now, in terms of the severe risk, an interesting adjustment from the Storm Prediction Center since yesterday. Instead of putting the majority of the area in a slight risk area, which would indicate scattered severe storms, it downgraded at least I-78 north to more of a marginal area, indicating some isolated severe storms. You go to our far northern suburbs, and there's little to no risk once we get north of I-84 of seeing severe storms, not that we can't get a shower. Once we go into central and southern New Jersey, that's where the instability will be the highest. Later in the day into the evening hours, we might get a cell or two with some damaging winds, some hail, and some downpours. I'll explain the reason for the forecast. When we start out on Wednesday morning, you'll walk out, you'll definitely notice that the humidity is up and it's starting to feel muggy and the heat will build in a hurry. As we go through the day, those dew points may very well peak during the midday, and as our winds get a bit of a northerly component to them, some dry air may start to filter in. But you notice some of our higher dew point air, it's off to the south and west. So that still may be enough of a trigger for some stronger storms. I think we'll get some spotty storms that develop Wednesday afternoon, and the more concentrated area of heavy thunderstorms may wait until the evening hours, and again, especially over central and southern New Jersey. Our futurecast has never been bullish on widespread thunderstorms, but there are multiple opportunities because the increase in humidity is coming with a couple of troughs or even warm fronts, you might call them, going through. One is right around the pre-dawn hours. There might be a little disturbance that comes through mid-morning, but overall, most areas will stay dry. There would just be an isolated shower or thunder shower. Then we'll go through the day. We'll get hot. We're really humid for a while. We're in the low and mid 90s from the city on south and west, 80s north and east. But notice we've got a little trough or boundary out ahead of the main cold front. And instead of waiting for the cold front to get into more of a northerly wind, we get that, maybe a northwest wind during the afternoon hours. That will tend to stabilize things just a touch by bringing in some drier air. And the other thing is we're a little out of sync with the upper level disturbances coming through. We've got one coming through, or a couple of them, overnight into the early morning hours. There's actually a little piece in the midday in the northern suburbs. But really, the most concentrated area of upper level energy coming through, vorticity, would be over central and southern New Jersey, and that's during the evening hours. And that's where we're seeing the opportunity for a few rounds of heavy to maybe isolated severe storms south of I-78. Now remember, all that has to happen is a little delay in some of this drier air coming in, and then the thunderstorms are farther north and a little bit more widespread, and the city's at risk. So it wouldn't be responsible to just say, okay, we're in the clear in New York City and parts of Long Island because of that possibility. So I do want to allow for a spotty, gusty afternoon thunderstorm and then a better concentration of heavier thunderstorms central and especially southern New Jersey late day into the evening hours. And again, some of those can have some gusty winds and heavy downpours and a few rounds. I mean, maybe it is parts of Ocean County that get hit the hardest. No doubt after midnight, we will start to dry out tomorrow night. Our confidence is very high, and that we get into more of a maritime air mass coming in from New England. Our wind is out of the northeast. There's a lot of clouds on Thursday. It's a totally different feel. We wake up to 60s, and we just maybe get into the low and middle 70s. So low and mid 90s to low and mid 70s for our highs on Thursday. Clouds dominate. There might even be a couple of passing showers around. There may be enough dry air on eastern Long Island. Maybe we get a couple of breaks in the clouds. In fact, the futurecast gusts could go 15, 20 miles an hour with these northeast winds. So it's kind of a cool breeze out there, maybe even light jacket weather at times. In terms of the U.S. Open on Wednesday, after going through an absolutely exquisite day on Tuesday, it's going to be a hot one. If you're lucky enough to have tickets, make sure you're bringing plenty of water or drinking plenty of water, lightweight, light colored clothing, take some breaks. There might be extended breaks for the players. In terms of storms, the threat really isn't all that high in Flushing. It might be an isolated spotty storm in the afternoon hours. The threat in the evening is more likely south of the Tennis Center. We'll watch that. There is no doubt that heat will be the biggest issue for play, which starts at 11 in the morning and goes right into the evening hours. So the front pushes south on Thursday, but it's still close enough that we have a fair amount of clouds. We've got a cool wind out of the northeast. There is a repositioning of the high, which goes from eastern Canada into the Gulf of Maine, or maybe more close to Halifax or closer to Nova Scotia. That's going to nose in a little drier, at least into New England. Does it nose farther west where we may have a few more breaks in the clouds? It's questionable. I still think we're going to have a fair amount of clouds. There might be a spot shower. It's comfortable. We're in the 70s, but we're definitely in this cool air mass. Best chance of seeing brightening would be east. Clouds may hang tougher off to the west. Then we've got a muddled weather map as we go into Saturday. There's a little area of low pressure trying to form near Philly. There's a cold front that's working through Ontario and into western New York. So it's not a washout, but there's clouds, limited sunshine, and a better threat of showers as the day goes on into the afternoon hours, maybe even a heavier thunder shower as that front moves in. And then we're hopeful that that front swings through. And I can't promise instant sunshine first thing on Sunday. There's some hints that the front may take its time a little bit and we have to deal with a little bit of cloudiness in the morning. And then the trend would be to get drier and clear skies out and see the lower humidity air come in, and then high pressure builds in nicely for Sunday afternoon and into Labor Day. Looking at the overall steering winds, we've got our heat on Wednesday, Big Ridge here. And then we've got that maritime air mass that's coming in for Thursday and Friday. And then we're really vulnerable and exposed to these troughs that are flying across southern Canada. So we have the thunder shower threat on Saturday. Now, Sunday and Monday, which is nice, we get a little sweet spot to finish off the holiday weekend where the temperature's probably warm into the 80s. Humidity is nice and low. But then these troughs bring some much cooler air in here. It's very comfortable and it looks like a dry pattern overall. But Tuesday into late next week, temperatures look like they're below normal. The heat is all suppressed. Our temperatures will probably be in the 70s. We could get a nice stretch of weather that really feels like September, not just early September, but mid-September, late September. Once we get into late next week, we'll also watch a trough over Hudson Bay start to approach the east. Does this mean we get a little bit more unsettled into next weekend? And by the way, I'm going to refer to this when we talk about the tropics, is that these persistent troughs and dips in the jet stream that are swinging through the northeast, that could provide protection for us if the Atlantic starts to wake up in terms of tropical systems. It would favor protection for the northeast, more recurving if a storm went along the east coast, or maybe even more likely paths that would take storms through the Caribbean toward the Gulf or the southeast coast. So we'll watch that. But nothing is really brewing that's of any significance just yet. Climate Prediction Center, as we look beyond the 7-day, it's all about a signal of below normal temperatures September 3rd to the 9th with all the heat out west. Looking at temperatures the next 10 days, I mean, after we get the 90s on Wednesday, there's nothing even close to that through the 6th of September. At least we have a nice bump for part of the holiday weekend. Sunday and Labor Day, we're in the 80s, and then look forward to some nice September weather in the mid-70s next week. Precipitation actually trends below normal as we go into that September 3rd to September 9th period. Precipitation chances. Notice they're really not terribly high on Wednesday. Some spotty storms, a better chance south. The Thursday, Friday threats are just a couple of passing showers. Doesn't look like anything too widespread. One thing I'm going to watch is Thursday morning. There might be a more organized area of showers. We'll have more on that as we get closer. And then over the weekend, it's a threat Saturday, and it looks like on this particular graphic, if you're watching whether or not, that we have equal chances on Saturday and Sunday. That's more because it's late Saturday and Saturday night, and things would be leaving very early on Sunday. So I don't want you to think that we have a stormy day on Sunday. Even a good chunk of Saturday looks like a good outdoor day until the storms start to arrive in the afternoon. And again, a couple could be heavy thunder showers. And then Sunday for most of the day should be really nice with the clearing skies. All right, back to the tropics. First, the Pacific, which is really the active basin right now. And we've got Hone leaving the Hawaiian Islands. Gilma, Hector, both of these are going to weaken. We may still have, some showers that reach the islands, but we're not talking about anything serious and nothing like the impact that Hone had. Now, there are clusters of thunderstorms over the tropical Atlantic. There's a healthy wave coming off the coast right now. And the Hurricane Center is at least looking at the tropical Atlantic and suggesting, okay, low pressure could develop over the next few days. A very vague statement from them. And slow development possible into the weekend. So you see over the next 48 hours, they don't give any chance for development. But maybe as we go through the Labor Day holiday, there is a wave that could become a depression or a tropical system that heads toward the Lesser Antilles as we go into the Labor Day holiday. But more likely, we're looking into the following week. If you watch, our modeling or our guidance not as bullish on the strength of that wave into the first day of September and Labor Day. Maybe there is a low pressure area going into the Caribbean, but potentially a more formidable wave forming on Tuesday. That the next named storm, by the way, would be Francine. That has some potential, but a lot of times when they form and get stronger this early in the game, they may tend to recurve. And remember, I talked to you about the overall protection with the westerlies in the northeast U.S., so that could help us and stay protected from a tropical system, at least in the short term. Beaches, sea and sand, southwest wind about 10 to 15 miles an hour, 1 to 3 foot waves. It is turning into a good beach day. You just have to keep an eye to the sky during the afternoon hours, but it looks like the beaches should remain dry during much of the day. It would be the Jersey Shore in the evening I'd be most concerned about. Rip current risk is going to be on the low to moderate side. Air quality, moderate to borderline unhealthy, especially the farther south you are. Ragweed is high with the pollen, and the UV index would be at a very high 8. 7 in the morning on your Wednesday. It's 74 degrees. It's warm. It's definitely more humid, and we're partly cloudy. There might be an isolated shower around a thunder shower. It looks like the disturbance would favor that more east at that point. These are more of a pre-dawn threat, but don't be surprised. Check the radar out as you head out. As we go through the day, it is hot and humid, low 90s, feeling like upper 90s to around 100, even north of 100 in parts of interior New Jersey. We could have some spotty, gusty thunderstorms in the afternoon hours. A lot of people will miss that. But then as we go into the evening hours, we will definitely be watching areas just south of New York City. And again, if that front is slower, New York City gets back into the mix with some of those storms. So 93, steamy, clouds and sun, a gusty thunderstorm late. A better chance with the AccuWeather Alert for storms into tomorrow evening, especially south. Some some of those storms could be heavy and gusty. Here's your 7-day AccuWeather forecast. The AccuWeather Alert primarily for the big heat on Wednesday, but also those spotty places that get a heavy thunderstorm. 93. Down to 69 at night and only a 7-degree bump on Thursday. A lot cooler with clouds, a cool northeast breeze, couple showers too. Might be a little bit more dry air to brighten the sky up at times on Friday, but I still think it's more clouds than sun. A stray shower, 77. It's humid on Saturday. Afternoon showers, maybe a heavy thunderstorm. Sunday's not perfect. We start out with clouds. In a worst case, there's a shower leaving the scene pre-dawn, and then clouds should break for sun, lowering humidity for the first day of September. And Labor Day, pretty good. Clouds and sunshine around 80. It's beautifully sunny on Tuesday, but temperatures will be below normal, but that's nice and comfortable in the mid-70s. That's your AccuWeather forecast. You can always get your weather information on ABC 7 NY. And thanks again for listening to Weather or Not. We'll see you next time, rain or shine.